all of you. Love never ends. Okay, this is weird. I haven't stood up here like this before. This is a different view. Change is good. I've only been here, 6 weeks, and already I'm sort of stuck in my ways. When I walked in today, it really threw me. Okay, so the 121st Psalm is also called the Song of Ascents, as Genevieve shared with our kids. It was sung by pilgrims on their way to Jerusalem to worship. And singing this psalm, they asked God for guidance, a way without stumbling, and an ever-present protection and care. Seems like a good Lenten prayer. We're now making our way through the wilderness, a week into our journey. We look ahead, and we see that there are still many hills yet to climb. There could be challenging terrain ahead. The road, we know it leads to Jerusalem, where Jesus will be lifted up at Golgotha. But before that, it leads us to Iran, where the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, and several senior officials were killed yesterday. It is said that the bombing will continue to achieve peace. Are we the peacekeepers? What is ours to keep? This is the question we hold in our hearts today. What is ours to keep? Remaining leaders in Iran vowing the U.S. an unforgettable lesson in retaliation. Iranian people longing for liberation from tyranny. Yes, who doesn't? But again, the question, what is ours to keep? It looms large and it takes on new depth and meaning, even in these last 24 hours. We lift our eyes to the hills, and we may find reassurance in their immovability, but also be challenged by what's to come if we keep walking. The word keep occurs 6 times in this psalm, 6 times in just 8 verses. Keep means permanence. Keep means unswerving loyalty. Keep means provision and care, reliable, trustworthy, durable. God will keep your life from this time on and forevermore. What a beautiful word of hope. As I read this scripture this week, I was remembering that from the time my children were just babies, they have been put to bed or sent off to school with the same words, a kiss on their heads and a God bless you and keep you. It just comes out of my mother mouth. God bless you and keep you. But I found myself asking, what does it mean to be kept by God? Love protects us from nothing, but sustains us in all things. That is from James Finley, one of my favorite teachers and theologians from the Living School down in Albuquerque. If I'm being honest, the first time I heard him say those words, I wanted to throw up. They hit hard. First, I played a little game in my head. I'll flip it, and that'll make it sound better, I thought. Okay, love sustains us in all things, but protects us from nothing. It didn't work. Having faith in the promise of love is not immunity from pain. But if we can stay grounded in our connection to love, it makes life not just bearable, but also meaningful. When we're faced with life's shadows, as we inevitably will be it loss, anger, grief, separation, we experience this human crisis. Suffering. What faith asks of us in these times is to prevail by seeing that the pain itself contains the seeds of our flourishing. Faith says the wound can also be the medicine. How strange. What does it mean? That instead of rejecting suffering through denial or avoidance, we learn to integrate it. Much like a vaccine uses a weakened, inactivated, or partial form of a virus to teach the body how to protect itself. Instead of causing the full illness, it introduced just enough of the pathogen or its genetic instructions to safely stimulate the body's natural immunities. It's quite brilliant, actually. The source of the infection becomes the very source of our protection. The thing that threatens to harm us becomes the tool that prepares us, if we allow it. And this is how we are invited to journey toward Lent. Suffering is not denied or avoided, it's approached reverently with great care for what it has to teach us. And over time, it produces strength and resilience. Vaccines, if you think about it, they don't just fight the infection in the moment, they create a memory in our bodies. And the memory is what protects us in the future. So the wound becomes the medicine, not only because it stimulates a response, but because it leaves behind wisdom in our bodies. Healing through an intentional, transformative encounter with what originally causes us harm, and transforming our relationship to it. Maybe this is what the psalmist means in the reassurance that God will keep our lives from this time on and forevermore. But it says nothing of our bodies, our stuff, our attachments, our provisions, just our lives. Only what is most essential and sacred. So what do we get to keep? What is ours to keep? Even this beautiful space, this land, if we go back far enough in our story, isn't really ours. Everything we have is temporary. Even the faith that we inherited from our spiritual ancestors was given to us in trust, that we would carry it, nurture it, and pass it along to future generations. It's not ours to keep. That's the promise. God keeps our lives. God has been keeping life since the beginning. Since before we were knit together in our mother's wombs, God has held all of life together somehow, miraculously, in the most precious, most enduring, most trustworthy of ways. Even now, in this moment, love is somehow holding it all together. The cosmic bond between molecules and planets, between the living and the dying, the laughter, the tears, the heart of it all, for keeps. Like a baby in a womb, we and all of creation are suspended in love. I had a really fun conversation earlier this week with a young couple who are interested in First Plymouth. They called the church to inquire about baptizing their child. And then we began to discuss other things as well. It was as though I was being given a glimpse of what is possible in our future. After we talked a bit about the beauty of ritual and the need for people who will witness our lives and intergenerational relationships, the mother spoke up. "Here's the thing," she said. "Young people are desperate for community. But we refuse to be defined by the version of so-called Christianity that is being represented in our country's leadership these days." Preach, girl. "We have become institutionally suspicious," she said, "because the things that we were told we could depend on have let us down. Education, religion, politics, to name a few. The last thing we want is to entrust our child to an institution that professes love, but actually cares more about money and power than anything else. And then her husband added, I want to reclaim the faith. It didn't used to be embarrassing to say that I was a Christian. But what passes today for Christian values is really nothing more than hypocrisy at best, and is actually hateful and harmful in so many ways. But your church, he said, says that God is still speaking. I love that. To me, it means that you are open to evolving, to questions, to new ideas. Don't tell him I freaked out when I walked in and the chairs were moved. Change is hard for me too. But we are open. We try. They are curious, maybe even willing to come back to church, but also scared, they said, of a bait and switch. If they come, will we open our hearts to them? Will we allow ourselves to be changed by them and learn from them? Or even more to the point, what is ours to keep? We inherited something that was passed on by those who went before us. The only reason any of us is here is because some other faithful people told us the stories, sang us the songs, set us free in this place, and entrusted us with the treasure of holy community. These young people are not wrong. Institutions are crumbling left and right. So how do we live into this promise? God will keep your life from this time on and forevermore. Love protects us from nothing, but sustains us in all things. About 5 years ago now, I was invited to offer a eulogy for a dear friend named Tom. It's always an honor to be asked to help celebrate someone's life, but this was different. Tom was still alive. He was very sick with cancer. The doctors told him he had very little time left, but instead of planning his funeral, he decided to participate in it. He threw what he called a death party, oh yes, and invited all of his family and friends to come, sparing nothing. He flew people in from all over the world, catering the evening with all of his favorite foods, and played drums with his buddies who had been together in a punk rock band in college. That night, Tom stood before us and asked us to keep him in our hearts, to keep him in our hearts. So here is what I shared. For our friend Tom at his death party, only the bravest among us, only the artist, the poet, the punk rock prophet, wouldn't you know it, the absurd lover of life who dares to walk liminality, who risk the depths of their mortality, only those who step out on the dance floor just as the song is ending, they will not miss a beat, for even as they move their feet, the music begins again. Another song begins to lift, a poem, a prayer, a breath, the air we breathe. Take it for what it is, a gift. Yes, it could all go terribly wrong, but at least we're dancing. Everything eventually breaks anyhow. Hearts, promises, arms, dreams. But there is a difference between breaking and breaking open. For even as we expire, we can inspire. It's all terribly lovely, really. The paradox of possibility, the power of our potentiality lies hidden in the shadows. If you wake up at just the right time, you won't even know the difference between twilight and dawn. Just when the light is on the very edge of becoming. To lean into the mystery, to love what we cannot see, is to fall and be held there beyond. We make these distinctions, these lines of extinction. They are adorable, aren't they, really? As if we have any notion of what's still, what's in motion. The depths of the ocean, we can barely go beyond the surface. Oh, we might catch a glimpse of these beautiful hints that we see through a mirror dimly. When predator meets prey, there is an instant where life and death kiss and are wed. Holy union. It's terrible and lovely, fear and hunger, longing and satisfaction, pain and fulfillment, surrender and annihilation, consummation. They are one. It's not personal. A lion must eat, a seed must be buried in order to bear fruit. It is what it is. Perhaps we missed the fine print. It's all there in the footnotes. But most of us just scroll down and sign on without reading. Who's got time for that? This life is a terminal case. The only way out is through. But our midwife is near, bearing hope in our tears, birthing joy from our aching groans. Wake up, sleepyhead. If you're alive, you are not dead. Let all who have ears listen. We are all worth so much more than the worst thing we have ever done. Deal with it. Hear the music. It's just a prayer for us, about us, with us. Choose your preposition. Assume your position. Get on the floor and dance. May it be so.